Vayechi, and he lived. God's trumpet call presence encountered the living Messiah. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. Thus Jacob lived to be 147 years old. Genesis chapter 47 verse 28. This Torah portion is the final Torah portion in the book of Genesis. It begins with the words, Jacob lived. But the contents of the Torah portion is about the events surrounding the death of Jacob and Jacob passing the inheritance, blessings, and covenant continuity to his sons, the sons of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. We will focus on Jacob's blessing over his sons Judah and Joseph. The prophecies Jacob gave them has the most direct bearing on Messiah in the Torah. Jacob was the second son of Isaac, but he received the birthright blessing from his father Isaac. He was the father of 12 sons of Israel and 12 tribes of Israel. Joseph was the firstborn son of Rachel, the bride of promise. Jacob and his family and descendants came to Egypt during the famine. The Torah says that Jacob lived in the land of Egypt for 17 years. An interesting point to note is that Jacob lost Joseph when Joseph was 17 years old. Number 17 gives us an immediate connection to both Joseph and the resurrection day of Messiah Yeshua. According to Genesis chapter 37 verse 2, when Joseph was 17 years old, he was feeding the flock with his brothers. And out of jealousy, his brothers placed him into a pit and lifted up out of that same pit at the age of 17. According to Matthew chapter 12 verse 39 to 41, Yeshua replied, a wicked and adulterous generation demands a sign, but none will be given it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh will stand at the judgment with this generation and condemn it. For they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and now one greater than Jonah is here. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt. The sign Yeshua HaMashiach gave was the sign of the prophet Jonah. He said, the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. According to Christian tradition, Yeshua HaMashiach was crucified on a Friday, which has been termed Good Friday. If this is true, how do we justify his shortened stay in the grave? Friday to Sunday is not 3 days, so he was not crucified on a Friday. Pesach celebration in the year of Yeshua's death would have fallen on a Wednesday, the 4th day of the week, corresponding to the first Aleph Tav of scripture, which is found as the 4th word of the Hebrew scriptures. After having been placed in the tomb between the evenings, on the 14th day of the first month, this places him in the tomb the entirety of 15th, 16th, resurrecting between the evenings on the 17th day of the first month, resurrection day. Thus 3 full days and 3 full nights in the tomb, just as he said. The 17th day was a Shabbat that year, which makes perfect sense since Yeshua is Lord of the Sabbath. Indeed, your father is sick. A while later, someone told Joseph that his father was ill. He took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Yaakov was told, here comes your son Joseph. Israel gathered his strength and sat up in bed. Genesis chapter 48 verse 1 to 2. Joseph took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. At this point in scripture, the names of Joseph's Aleph Tav, 2 sons, are in correct birth order. Manasseh is Joseph's firstborn, and Ephraim is the second son. Jacob said to Joseph, El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, saying to me, I will make you fruitful and numerous. I will make of you a group of peoples, and I will give you this land to your descendants to possess forever. Genesis chapter 48 verse 3 to 4. Here Jacob speaks to Joseph of the blessing El Shaddai gave him and to his descendants. The promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob refers to their seed, of which Yeshua HaMashiach is the purest seed. Jacob said, "Now your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Egypt, before I came to you in Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon. They shall be mine. Children born to you after them will be yours, but for purposes of inheritance they are to be counted with their older brothers." And even before the blessing was pronounced, Ephraim precedes his older brother Manasseh. Ephraim replaced Reuben as his firstborn of Jacob. Jacob adopted Ephraim and Manasseh. They are now as if he had sired them himself. Ephraim and Manasseh became legitimate physical heirs and would share in the family inheritance. Adoption. Apostle Paul speaks of spiritual adoption. "For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption by whom we cry out, Abba, Father." In Romans chapter 8 verse 23 we read, "Not only that, but we also who have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, eagerly waiting for the adoption, the redemption of our body." Ephesians chapter 1 verse 4 to 6, "Accordingly, he chose us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestined us to adoption as sons by Yeshua HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of the glory of his grace, by which he made us accepted in the beloved." The adoption of Ephraim and Manasseh is a foreshadow of believers being born outside the land, being brought into covenant Israel by adoption. Our native-born Israelites automatically become part of covenant Israel. Covenant Israel can be defined as those from all peoples who choose to follow the rules of the kingdom. Scripture use wheat, sheep, and fish as metaphor to describe those who follow the rules of the kingdom. In Genesis chapter 48 verse 8 it states that, "Then Israel saw Joseph's sons and said, Who are these?" The Hebrew word for saw is uyareha, and he saw. This word is used in the imperfect tense, which simply means it is in the future. Jacob is really seeing the future of Joseph. Joseph is a type and shadow of Yeshua HaMashiach. What Jacob seeing in Ephraim and Manasseh are the adopted brethren of the Lord Yeshua HaMashiach. Jacob blesses Ephraim and Manasseh in verse 9 to 14. "And Joseph said to his father, They are my sons whom Elohim has given me in this place. And he said, Please bring them to me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. Then Joseph brought them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, I had not thought to see your face. But in fact, Elohim has shown me your offspring, the Aleph Tav seed." So Joseph brought them from beside his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand towards Israel's left hand, and Manasseh with his right hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. Then Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, guiding his hands knowingly to lay crosswise, for Manasseh was the firstborn. When Jacob crossed his hands, he made the sign of letter Tav in its paleo form. And the sign means seal or covenant, which has a numerical value of 400. In verse 15 to 16, Jacob blessed Joseph, and he blessed Joseph and said, Elohim, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, Elohim who has fed me all my life to this day, the angel who had redeemed me from all evil. Bless the lads, let my name be named upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them proliferate like fish into a multitude in the midst of the earth. The Hebrew word dagash, fish, is used only once in the Tanakh. Its paleo meaning would read, the door who will be lifted up will be revealed. The numerical value is 3. Resurrection. The triangle of 17. Fish connect us to the triangle of 17. A triangle has 3 sides, with resurrection day being the 17th day of the first month. After resurrection, Yeshua appeared to his disciples. Simon Peter said to them, I am going fishing, and others wanted to join him. They went out and got into the boat, but caught nothing that night. But when the morning came, Yeshua stood on the shore. But disciples did not know that it was Yeshua. Yeshua asked them, Children, have you any food? They answered him, No. And Yeshua told them to cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. So they cast and caught multitude of fish, and they were not able to draw it in. Disciple whom Yeshua loved said to Peter, It is the Lord. When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put his outer garment and plunged into the sea. Others came in the little boat, dragging the net with fish. Then, as soon as they had come to the land, they saw a fire of coals there, and fish laid on it, and bread. Yeshua said to them, Bring some of the fish which you have just caught. Simon Peter went up and dragged the net to the land, full of large fish, 153. The number 153 connects us to the resurrection day. Water is a metaphor that represents the nations. Consider the 153 fish represent the remnant of covenant Israel. Those in covenant will recognize Yeshua as the resurrected Messiah. The disciples, Messiah Yeshua, are called to be fishers of men. The prophet Ezekiel prophesied in Ezekiel 47:10, Fishermen will stand by the shore, from En-Gedi to En-Eglaim. They will spread their nets to catch fish of many kinds, like the fish of the great sea. In Matthew chapter 4, verse 18 to 20, Yeshua called Peter and his brother Andrew, and they were casting a net into the sea. They were fishermen. Yeshua said, Come follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And at once they left their nets and followed him. Blessing Ephraim and Manasseh. In Genesis chapter 48, verse 17 to 19, we read that Jacob laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, and it displeased Joseph. And he tried to remove Jacob's hand from Ephraim's head. And Joseph said to the father, Not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. But his father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his descendants shall become a multitude of nations. The birthright blessing was given to Ephraim, the second son. The pattern of the second son remains intact. Ephraim is set before his brother Manasseh. The name Ephraim means double ash heap. I shall be doubly fruitful. The numerical value of Ephraim is 7. The descendants of Ephraim will be gathered from the nations at the onset of the 7th millennia. In the final millennia, the wheat, sheep, and fish will be gathered into the land, never to be removed again. When Jacob pronounced his blessing over Simon and Levi, he addressed their ferocity relating to the incident at Shechem, after Jacob's daughter was raped by the son of the local Hivite chieftain. Simon and Levi killed Shechem and his men in revenge for the rape of their sister Dinah. Jacob passed Simon and Levi over as the ruling tribes of Israel in favor of Judah. Simon lost his inheritance because of his actions. Tribe of Simeon only controlled a small portion of Judah's territory. They eventually disappeared from history. Levites were scattered throughout Israel. Jacob and Simeon and Levi are brothers, instruments of cruelty. Are in their dwelling place, not my soul. Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united in their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. The origin of stolen craft came from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil in Eden. The book of Enoch, chapter 8, verse 1 to 3, shed light on this subject. A fallen angel taught men to make swords, knives, and shields, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them. This knowledge was forbidden, and Simon and Levi used it to destroy the entire male population of Shechem.